Cool. So let's start. For those who don't know us, we are Geisha Coffee. I'm Lydia, and this is Velizar.
Hello, guys.
And we started the project because we have very profound interest in coffee, and that's why we decided that we would like to share it with as many people as possible. And we started to organize these regular monthly events. This is the third one in a row. And we thought that it would be cool to upgrade your coffee skills for the summer. That's why we'll focus mainly on the coffee drinks that are suitable for the summer season. And apart from the online events, we also do the team buildings, and we do the coffee tasting and everything that has to do coffee sommelier things. So that's a little bit of introduction about us. Just so you know, we'll have also a guest with us today. They're from my hometown in Zlate Moravce, Slovakia, and they're specialists in a cold brew, which is basically the most important base for all summer cocktails. So hi, Jimmy and David. Hello.
Hello.
They will lead one of the main sessions of the event. Hi guys. And then before we actually go and deep dive into the cocktails immediately, we prepared, as usually, some of the interesting elements how you can participate. So first of all, you can ask your questions, and you can do that through Slido. In a minute, I will show you a slide that explains how to log in. You don't have to download anything into your phone. It's just the way how we interact with you in terms of polling and quizzes, etc. So let me share my screen now because we'll need that. Cool. And this is basically the slide that is very important for you, the way how you can interact with us. So as you can see, you just need to type on your phone in a browser, slido.com, and insert the code summer20. And you'll be prompted to a room. And we would like to know, first of all, where all of you are, in which city are you right now? So please go into slido.com, insert summer20, and type your answer so we can see where the people are logging from. I see Barcelona is winning for now. I guess there are a lot of people, well, a lot. There are some people from my hometown as well, from Slovakia. I see Brussels is in there. That's actually where we used to live with Velizar before Barcelona. Zlate Moravce.
Surprise, yeah. Mozambique.
Oh, wow. That's very exotic.
Yeah, very, very nice coffee in Mozambique. I tried once, it was amazing. Philippines. Cambridge. In Cambridge, you also have good coffee, but you don't grow it there. Fantastic. So we have people from pretty much all over the world, which is great.
And the second question that we have on you is, as the summer is starting today, imagine you're on a beach with a cocktail. What cocktail would you choose? So we know a little bit about your preferences. I think that people are typing. We'll give you a bit of a moment because it's a tough question. Cuba Libre is there, okay.
The official summer starts today, guys. The astronomical summer. So from now on, we're gonna have only great days ahead. We're gonna have summer beach parties and all that. So that's why we wanted to create this session to espresso tonic, nice. That's why we created this session to basically show you our favorite coffee cocktails and how you can do them at your own home without having any kind of like barista skills or bartending skills for that matter.
The Kiri strawberry, that's very, wow, very
that's
specific,
really
nice.
Yeah.
Caipirinha. I think I know who this is. Cool. Next question, guys. We're going to use several ingredients. So either you can follow us doing the cocktails, or you can just watch and then try it on later. But one of the things we'll be using is actually milk today. We would describe us as maybe purists in terms of coffee. We usually just drink coffee on its own.
Yeah.
But when we add milk, it can create some interesting coffee cocktails. So we would like to know what kind of milk you prefer. You can choose more than one.
Mm.
Okay. So I see that oat and...
If we ask this question like probably 15 years ago, all the rest outside cow would be abnormal. So it's not gonna be a valid answer. Although many of these milks exist for a long time, they were not popular in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Still, I guess we have a lot of traditional people in the call today who prefer cow milk.
It's interesting to try different milks, definitely, because it gives a different flavor to the coffee, not the usual one we are used to. For example, I will be using today oat milk, and it has naturally sweet taste. A lot of people think that they actually add artificial sugar into the milk, but actually, as oats have a lot of carbs and they're broken during the process when the milk is created, it's naturally sweet. So
yeah.
So that's maybe one of the interesting things. Cool. I see we have Alejo with us from our last guest as well. Hello, Alejo. But now let's go to the last question.
We're going to talk about cold brew. So cold brew for many of you can be a new thing. For many of you, like Kolt, for example, our guest from Kolt, it's a everyday thing. Just as a first question, where do you think cold brew was supposedly invented? So we have a few options. There's only one correct answer. Let me try to figure it out. And then we're gonna go after this question. I think we have another one, and then we go to Kolt.
Okay, it seems that people think that it's from Japan, and the second voted is Argentina and Starbucks, which is not really country, but
well,
it's an interesting mix. I have to say that Belizar is in charge of questions today. You might notice the humor is, well, those who don't know him, it's this is how you can get to know Belizar, through the questions he asks.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Japan is the correct answer, right?
Yeah, Japan is the correct answer.
And now, as we're going to talk a lot today about cold brew, we would like to ask you if you know the difference between cold brew and iced coffee, because iced coffee exists for a long time, right? We're used to that. So let us know if you think it's the same thing, it's completely different, or I don't know, I know neither of these two. Sorry, I know neither of them.
Neither of them is hot. So there's only one wrong answer here.
Well, with Belizar, it's either 0 or 100, so completely different or same thing. There is nothing in between.
But it's a valid answer. I know neither of them is hot.
Mm-hmm.
But just so you know, guys, now you're going to find out the difference between cold brew and iced coffee, and it's enormous. Okay. So most of you understood that this is completely different. Yeah, that's true.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, we should move on.
Okay, cool. So now it's time actually that I would like the guys from Kolt to share the camera and unmute themselves, or if you're already done that, because I can't see you because I'm presenting. But basically, I'm really, really happy to have them here because they will tell you more about themselves, about their project, and up to you guys now. Welcome.
Hello guys, what's up? First of all, we would like to thank Lydia for the invitation to this online event about summer coffee drinks. We are glad we have the opportunity to share a few moments with you. We are Jimmy and David, the founders of Kolt, friends, and of course coffee lovers. I am Jimmy, and we came up with our specialty coffee shop idea a few years ago. Our first idea was to set up a coffee shop in our hometown Zlate Moravce inside the old town hall. The start of journey certainly wasn't the easiest one. We went through a lot of trouble in regards bureaucracy and dealings with authorities, so we decided to sideline the coffee shop project, instead started our coffee truck journey. Our budget certainly wasn't a very big one, around 10,000 euros, but we managed to save a lot of money by buying an old horse transporter from 1971. Using my passions for renovations and repairs, we repurposed it to serve as coffee truck. This is our transporter before resurrection. We went the next coming weeks working hard, reconstructing the old transporter inside the workshop of our carpenter friend Richard Valovich, and there is the result. And why we choose the name Kolt? The Kolt is synonym for a gun, and we are serving shots, or better said, double shots. That's why.
We noticed our town was missing specialty coffee shops and as a result also lacked cultural events. So we decided to take advantage of this business opening and set up shop in the courtyard of the old town hall. However, before we were able to do that, we first had to deal with the desolate state of the courtyard itself, which we had to completely revitalize and bring up to scratch. All of the coffee shops in the town worked with commodity Italian blends and dark roasts, and as a result the third wave coffee was not in sight. So we took this duty in our hands and started with Kolt. We started serving specialty coffee last year on the 2nd of August. All this time we are staying true to our original vision of opening a regular coffee shop in the interior of the town hall. So we are trying to save every penny we can. This also includes our own tips, all of which we invest towards the pursuit of our original dream, which mostly comes down to renovation of the town hall. The first impressions were surprisingly good, and in the span of a few weeks we got to know many great people who either share the very same passion as us, or simply wanted to go with a different coffee art. The trade that most people found surprising and impressive regarding our coffee were the fruity flavors and sweet tastes. We are working mostly with small Slovak roasters and are using single origins and light roasts. By the way, my personal favorite regions are Ethiopia, Rwanda, and Kenya. Since this event is all about summer drinks, let me introduce a few of ours. We're offering espresso tonics, iced flat teas, matcha and lime, our own cold brews and rare nitros and drafts. At the end we are going to show you one of our recipe for a cold brew.
And now a little bit more regarding our support for various cultural happenings. We mainly focus on supporting local artists from the cultural spheres. You can think of musicians, painters, photographers, travelers, you name it. Everyone who is willing to present themselves will be given ample opportunity to do so. Our goal is to organize concerts, discussions, lectures, and of course coffee cuppings and homemade preparations courses. There will be more or less all there is to Kolt. If we have piqued your interest, you can follow us on social networks. Now on to our recipe.
I will show you simple recipe for a cold brew. You will need cold water, French press, and of course coffee. By the way, I'm using coffee from Ethiopia from Slovak Roaster Spaceship Roastery. So we can start. I'm using brew ratio 1 gram of coffee to 10 grams of water. Okay. We can add coffee, cold water. Now I'm using 40 grams of coffee and 400 milliliters of water.
I think the video interrupted of the
Maybe they're having some.
they're having some issues, right? As we wait for them to come back.
Beauty of online events.
Yeah, as we wait for them to come back, they were going to show you how to make cold brew as professionals with a French press. In this case, though, I make cold brew at home as a home barista, as you can imagine, and I want to show you how easy it is. So what you need, it's a jar. This is all you need. So you need coffee, water, and a jar, and about 12 to 24 hours. How I do it very simply. I do it 1 to 10. So I typically put 40 grams of coffee, and then I put 400 grams of water on top of it. So all of this into this jar. It doesn't really matter how you're going to grind the coffee. It just make sure it's a bit coarser. So what I'm gonna do is typically I'll put the coffee, then put the 400 grams of coffee, then stir it, and then slowly put it on a side for 12 to 24 hours, with 18 hours being the optimal. Now, should we, until we wait for them to come back, should we go with the next?
Yeah, sure. Maybe we can say what actually makes a difference between iced coffee and the cold brew. We have a slide prepared for that. So, up, here you go.
Yeah.
This is important for people to know.
This is really important for you guys to know, because iced coffee, what is iced coffee is basically they give you ice. This is where the word comes from. Then they serve you hot water on top of it. So this is a hot extraction. Typically, the hot extraction brings all kind of acidity with it, all kind of. Sometimes it can be bitter if it's not, especially if it's not specialty coffee. The difference with cold brew is that the cold brew, the extraction time is a lot longer, and only the best out of coffee gets into your coffee brew. So only the sugars, only the good elements.
We have a question if we mix the coffee when doing cold brew or just leave it setting down.
So the answer to this is like I fill in the jar, so the jar that you saw, I fill it with coffee, and then I put water up until the middle. Then I stir it. Then I stir it very, very, very well. And then I add the rest of the water, and I put it on a side. I don't touch it for the next 18 hours at all. So the point is, after you're done with the 18 hours of waiting, of steeping the coffee, all you have to do is take a normal filter and just filter the coffee that you have through the filter, and at the end the result is the best possible coffee that you can have. Why is it the best? Because it's really, this is the filter. Any kind of filter will basically do it. So why is the best possible coffee? Of course, this is a personal opinion, but cold brew typically has only sugars, typically has only things that are good for you. So of course, there's a lot of caffeine. You can imagine that. But also it keeps the sugars, it gets rid of the acids, it gets rid of the bitter taste, which for many people is very off-putting. That's why, by the way, this is very important. Never reheat cold brew, because you might unleash things in your coffee that you don't want after that. I see that David is back.
Yeah,
maybe we should.
We have some internet connection troubles, and we don't know why. So before I start preparing cold brew, so I will repeat it. We're using French press, cold water, coffee, and brew ratio is 1 gram of coffee to 10 grams of water. So I pour water to coffee, little bit stir. You can add plunger and just wait around 16 or 20 hours. It depends on how strong you like your coffee. Now we can just wait and enjoy it tomorrow.
You can enjoy your cold brew as pure, or you can add some tonic with ice.
That's the tonic, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Schweppes.
We have a question if we can add ice. So you would add ice after your cold brew is ready, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Guys, do you recommend that people keep their cold brew outside or in the fridge? Because some recipes suggest you have to keep it in the fridge.
Yeah, it doesn't matter much in fridge or in cold room.
Mm-hmm. I guess if you want to speed up the process of extraction, you can keep it in the room with a room temperature. And then if you want slower extraction, it's in the fridge in cold environment.
The duration of extraction depends more on grinding size than room temperature.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Cheers.
Okay, so now you have your drinks ready. Cool. Is there anything else you would like to share with any other recipe or any other way?
I think it was all from our side.
We have actually a question from Vecina Cafeína. Hola.
Hola, vecina.
We have a question. Does the jar where you keep the coffee simmering need to be totally sealed, or is it better for some air to get in?
Can you repeat it, please?
Yes, sure. The question is if the jar is supposed to be completely closed like this, or it can be a little bit open.
I would say close, but when you are using French press, you have here just plunger and it's not completely closed, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So just to add to that, you guys showed how to do it with a French press, and sometimes I do the same thing. The French press, what is the good thing about it is you don't need a filter because it already has the filter in the French press. So when you're done, when you want your coffee, you just put the plunger down and you so you don't need a filter in this case. But I do it, of course, a lot more complicated for myself with a filter.
It's good to give options.
It's good to give options to do it, yeah. But at the end, the result is pretty much the same.
Yeah,
well, if nobody has any other questions, then I would like to thank you guys for your pro explanation, and especially because I know that you had to brush your English from the high school, so this is really something that you don't do normally. So very big thank you, and we'll continue now with 2 other summer drinks.
Yeah.
Thank you too for invitation again.
Sure.
Thank you guys.
Cool. Let's share the screen again, and we will come back to a bit of voting, right?
Yeah, prepare yourself for voting. So.
Pink latte. Maybe I can. If you introduce the questions, I can go and prepare my stuff.
So while Lydia is preparing the next cocktail, it's something. So what is pink latte? First of all, pink latte or gold latte is something that became very popular in the past, let's say 5-6 years. Before that, people were not very much aware of what that is. So pink latte is as it's supposed to be. It's a latte that is with pink color, and gold one is, of course, with yellow. But the question here is, in pink latte, where does the red or pink color come from? So you have a lot of options. Is it a beetroot? Is it a tomato? Is it a grapefruit? Is it the freshly fed mosquitoes? This is, I know this is disgusting, but at the same time, we need to put some kind of humoristic answers as well. So, some of you already voted. Let's see. Yeah, beetroot. This is the correct answer. Beetroot is indeed the correct answer. Many people, including Lydia, don't like really the taste of beetroot, but the recipe we're going to show you has nothing of that. So the recipe we're going to show you has mostly the color and less of the taste of beetroot. So if you're not a big fan, don't worry about it. So we go with the next question.
Mm-hmm.
The next question is the original recipe. The original recipe again. For pink and gold latte, how much coffee do you think they put in? For me, this was very, very surprising because I can help you out a little bit if you can answer this question with the original recipe. How much coffee is there in the original recipe for pink or gold latte? Now, let's wait 2 more seconds. Okay, most of you think that there are 2 shots of espresso. This is exactly the recipe we're going to show you. But in the original recipe, guys, pay attention because this is very important. You're gonna go somewhere, we're gonna see like matcha latte or pink latte or gold latte, and you think that there will be coffee in it. In the original recipe, there's no coffee in it. For me, it was a bit of a surprise because I ordered a few times and then I'm like, I'm missing the taste of coffee a little bit. And turn out there's none. So to me, that was a surprise. But of course, we're a coffee organization. We're going to show you the recipe with coffee because this is the drink we love. And we just want to incorporate it into something beautiful, in something cocktailish that you can impress yourself and your friends with. So we're ready. We're ready with showing you the recipe.
Today we are really going out of our comfort zone because we are doing this in a very improvised environment, but I hope that it looks okay. So I'll show you how to do pink latte. For curcuma latte, I will give you instructions and also I will show you the ingredient list afterwards. So you will need a scale because you want to measure the coffee for espresso. We will be using espresso coffee. I already prepared mine. You can use any type of milk. I will be using today oat milk. And the difference between the animal milk and the plant-based milk is that it's very difficult to create foam for the coffee. And during the quarantine, when I had a lot of time to test different things, and I wanted to create a heart in my coffee or, you know, some kind of picture in my coffee, I was really struggling because at home, you cannot control the process very well, such as temperature of your milk, the foam bubbles and things like that. And I never ever managed to make actually nice picture in my coffee. It was always a disaster. So instead of that, I decided it would be cool to create a colored foam on the top of your coffee. So instead of regular white foam, we will be having a pink foam or yellow foam. And we will be coloring the milk for pink foam specifically with beetroot. So this is the beetroot, and I hate the taste of it. So we are not going to mix it with milk at all. Like you're not gonna put it into a robot and mix it because they were forcing me to eat it in kindergarten, and that's how I created really hate towards this beetroot. But what you can do is that you pour a glass of milk and you insert beetroot there for 2 minutes only. So it doesn't take the taste of beetroot, but it takes the color of beetroot, which is what we want. And we're coloring our milk in a very natural way. So when you do this, you put your milk aside and you keep it there with the beetroot for 2 minutes and you prepare your espresso. The closest thing that you can do for espresso is mocha. So a lot of you probably have a mocha pod, or you can use your espresso machine. You just brew it in a very traditional way, and I prepared my espresso already here. So that's already done. And I warmed up the milk with a color.
So this is the color you receive at the end.
This is the color, yeah, this is purely from beetroot. Or if you add curcuma, it will become yellow. And I warm it up to 65 degrees, especially if you are using animal milk. Because if you warm it up more, it will start to have a little bit of an eggy smell that you don't want in your coffee. So 65 degrees, I hope that you can control it somehow. It definitely should not boil. And you will be using your French press. I'll tilt the camera a little bit. So the guys showed you how to use the French press for cold brew. Now you can actually use the same exact machine for creating foam by doing this. And you will be doing it for with a regular animal milk. It's around 30 seconds, maybe even less. Maybe I'll mute myself so you don't have annoying sound. Let's try to do the test now.
And with the non-animal milk, how much time do you have to beat it?
A bit more.
A bit more, yeah. Because of the type of fat and proteins that are inside. Right?
Yeah. Okay. We have our milk ready. I take my coffee, and the milk should be thicker than your coffee because you don't want to mix it with coffee. You want to just pour it on the top. And it should create two distinguished layers. At this moment, my milk was not too thick. So what's happening is actually it's a mixing with the coffee, but you can still see distinguished two layers. And because I'm using oat milk, it has a little bit of a yellowish color. So the milk actually doesn't have a punchy pink color. But if you're using a regular white milk, it will be really, really kind of intense color. So that's the our take on differently making the pink latte. If you taste it, it really doesn't taste like something weird. It really tastes like coffee with milk. So yeah, that's our coffee with pink color. And now it's up to Belizar to show you how to do an alcoholic version of a coffee cocktail.
We have two questions before.
We have two questions. Okay, so I'll share my screen again with you guys because we would like you to vote on some things. And
so what I'm going to show you is called espresso martini. Why do you think it's called like that? Because it is coffee with martini, so coffee with gin and vermouth. So any espresso that is shaken, not stirred, can be espresso martini. This is coming from James Bond, for those of you who don't know what shaken, not stirred comes from. Is it George Clooney had the idea because he's in both commercials for Nespresso and martini. I discovered this by myself. He's in both commercials, so he gave them the idea, why don't we make a drink? Or is it because it's a coffee-based alcoholic cocktail served in a V-shaped glass, for which I'm going to need right.
Okay, so most of the people think that it's the
Is the right answer. Most people think is the right answer. That's very good. That's very, very good, guys.
So do you want to tell us a story? It's actually quite funny where the name comes from.
Yeah, just before we have another question, I think. This is another question, and then I'm gonna tell you the story and of course show you the drink. So which of the following coffee cocktails is non-alcoholic? So all of these are coffee cocktails, all of them, but there's only one that doesn't have any alcohol in it. And if you're interested in the recipes for the others, come back to me. I'll let you know how to make it in your home. Very well, everybody voted, almost everybody voted correctly. It's caramel latte macchiato. This is caramel latte macchiato. It's very popularized by Starbucks. I don't know if they invented it, but it doesn't really matter. So, can I have a camera so I can show people?
Yeah.
Actually, I'll tell you the story. So, espresso martini, guys. Espresso martini was invented somewhere mid-80s of last century. Espresso martini was first created in London by a very, very famous London bartender, not a barista, bartender. So the bartender, he's very famous for a few of his cocktails, but unfortunately for him, only the espresso martini is connected to his name. So how did he come up with the idea? Well, there was a supermodel that entered his bar, and the supermodel asked for something to, basically it was like the middle of the night, but she wanted something to, that's the supermodel entering my bar. She wanted something to wake her up, and after that to have also an alcohol taste because it was the middle of the night again. So he said at that time it was the 80s, so everybody was drinking everything with vodka. So he wanted to stay close to the wave of the time. So he served something with vodka. So he put vodka, he put some kind of liquor in it. And then he said, there was always this coffee machine on my way. And I always hated it. But at this time, it made an espresso. And I put this espresso in the cocktail. I made it really nicely. And she loved it. And after that, wherever this bartender was going to different bars, all the bartenders were trying to impress him with his own cocktail. So the espresso martini, guys, what you need is a martini glass. This is not a martini glass, but we don't have any. So you're gonna use whatever you have at home because this is for home baristas. What you need is a bit of vodka.
This is a special one. This is
a special vodka.
Żubrówka from Poland.
So we're not paid by any vodka company, so it doesn't matter what kind of vodka you're going to use. You're going to need Baileys, Kahlua, or any kind of coffee cocktail. You're going to need
Tatra Tea for Slovak people.
Or Tatra Tea for Slovak people.
This is the one that is already gone, but it's the 17% Tatra Tea. For sure, all the Slovak people know that.
Of course. And there's a little twist. We're not going to make it with espresso. We're going to make it with cold brew. So here's how it works. Because I was very diligent, I prepared everything beforehand. It's very, very, very simple recipe, guys. You don't need a shaker. You need a jar. You just need a jar. I put already in the jar a piece of ice.
A cube.
A cube of ice, yeah. An ice cube. I put an ice cube. How is the measurement? I typically put 40 grams of cold brew, 20 grams of Baileys, and 20 grams of vodka. And I mix all that. Some recipes suggest that you have to put sugar. I will stay away from the sugar because it already has a lot of sugar. So I don't think, it's of course personal taste, but if you want to put some sugar into your cocktail, you're absolutely free to do so. Now, I take the glass, maybe I do it here. I put it on the side because the glass is the final effect. I'll do this a little bit so you can see how I'm working. So I open the jar. What I do is I put the cold brew inside. This is 40 grams of cold brew.
How long did you leave this cold brew?
18 hours. I left this cold brew. Exactly what with the recipe that Kolt shared, 1 to 10. So I made it with 40 grams of coffee with 400 grams of water.
Mm-hmm.
I take my Baileys. This is my Baileys. I love Baileys, by the way. I put it inside. So this is the beauty of it. It's really easy to make. And I take the 20 grams of vodka. If you cannot remember it like this. 1 part is coffee, half part is Baileys, half part is a vodka. So I take all of this, put it together with an ice cube, close the jar, and I just beat it. You don't need a shaker, you just beat it. You beat it for not a long time, Don't do this like you've seen this kind of like a bartender is kids that you throw it and then you catch it. Don't do that. It's like a recipe for disaster. I've seen it many, many times when people do that. Okay, so we don't beat it too much. It's not like the other recipe that we saw. We take our glass, we remove the rest, and we just simply put it. Normally, you should keep away the ice, but I like it with the ice cube inside. I just prefer it this way. And to garnish, what do we garnish it with? We garnish it very simply because it's a coffee cocktail. We put 3 beans of coffee, or 4. I'm going to put 4 this time. So what we have at the end is this, guys. Beautiful, no?
Maybe you can also explain what is sweet water coffee, because that's very relevant for this cocktail.
Off topic. If you don't want the coffee element, if you don't want the caffeine, you can use decaf coffee. So a few years ago, I would never recommend decaf coffee to my biggest enemy. But now it exists this method called Swiss water, which basically creates removes the caffeine from the coffee, and then you have very, very good tasting, super good tasting coffee at the end with no caffeine. So if you want to do it without caffeine, you're absolutely free to do so, because typically alcohol and caffeine, they're not best friends. Just imagine Red Bull and whiskey, and you know what I'm talking about. So this is our coffee cocktails. It's 15 minutes to 12, so I'm not going to drink it right now immediately, only after I close the call.
Okay, so that was the last drink that we prepared for today. We also wanted to mention that we have recipes for you with the ingredients and everything. So I'll leave it a little bit here so you can take a screenshot, or alternatively, I will be sending all the recipes to all event registrants after the event, so you will receive it in your email. This is a bonus recipe that I would like to share with you. It's actually made with iced tea, which is called brew tea. It's very interesting because I led a team building on Friday with a group of 20 people from Accenture, and a lot of them were not coffee drinkers but tea drinkers. So I had to adjust the recipes and include tea into the team building as well. And the way how you prepare cold brew, you leave it sit for 18 hours, for example. The same way you can prepare cold brew tea. The only difference is that the black tea and green tea are quite intense, so you would like to leave them rest for 4, maximum 6 hours, depending on the tea. What I found out when I was trying this recipe is that the process with coffee is quite controlled. If I know my coffee, if I know my grind size, I know that I leave it for 18 hours and it's going to be good. However, with tea, it really depends on the type of the tea you buy. You really need to know your tea well. And this is a nice recipe where I used the black tea. I mixed it with coconut milk and honey, and I added ice. So that's just a pro tip for those who like tea as well for the summer. And one of the things that I have to mention, because probably most of you heard about this, is Dalgona coffee. This is the coffee that got really, really popular during the coronavirus crisis, because people all of a sudden stayed at home, and and they had a time to experiment. And it looks fantastic on the pictures. When I saw it, I'm like, wow, this looks really cool. But then I went and saw the ingredients of it, and obviously the white part of it is milk. And on the top, the coffee foam is actually instant coffee. And that's the reason why I don't do it at home. And I did it only once to try it, and I will never do it again.
We had to throw it away, no? It was
Yeah.
Too sweet,
So the taste, obviously the taste is subjective, and I can't tell if it's right or wrong to drink instant coffee. But this specific recipe, the foam, how you get the foam is that you whisk the same amount of coffee and sugar. So not only that it's instant coffee, meaning low quality, you also mix it with sugar, and you get something very bittersweet. And then you put it on the top. The 2 layers milk obviously is less dense, so they never mix properly, and it's just, in my opinion, it's not a balanced drink. But I encourage you to try it, because by trying things we actually develop what we like, and we recognize, and we can also explain why we don't like something and why we like something. So so you know that geisha coffee follows the trends, but
we follow the trends, but we don't follow all the so we know what's going on out there, but we stay away from our true nature, which is good coffee. And that's why we're not going to recommend you something that we don't consider as good. But of course, everybody's taste is different.
So yeah, that's the last thing. We have 2 questions. If we can add ice to cold brew, I assume. So yes,
afterwards,
you can add ice afterwards when your cold brew is already filtered and ready. You can pour your cold brew over ice. The nice thing is that as the cold brew is already cold, it will not melt the ice so much, and the taste will not be diluted. That's the advantage.
Can we leave it longer than 20 hours? Yes, you can. I actually made the experiment, of course. That's why I left it. Once I left it 24 hours, once I left it 48 hours. And honestly, between 24 hours and 48 hours, there's not a big difference in taste. And you can leave it for longer than 20 hours, but it's not needed. So for me, optimally is around 18 hours. But that's just my personal view. If you want to, you can experiment. Guys, this is all about experimentation. So you can experiment, leave it once 24 hours, leave it once 48 hours. Maybe you prefer it better. But nothing bad is going to happen to you if you leave it longer for longer than 20 hours.
Another question that we have in the chat is what vegetable milk I would recommend. I like oat milk to pair with coffee. And the advantage of oat milk is also its environmental impact. So as you know, milk,
it's very low.
Yeah, in terms of emissions, but also in terms of water consumption. So oat milk is one of the most ecological milks that you can use. What is the best and food safe way to clean a French press, especially for the sieve to keep it really clean?
So it's a very, very good question. What I typically do is I don't use too much. When I clean my French press, I don't use too much chemicals. So I don't use this kind of detergents that you typically use with your, let's say, to clean your plates and so on. I typically use only water, and sometimes I put it into the dishwashing machine. And how to clean the stir is very easy. You just put hot water into the French press, and you start like plunging it up and down, up and down, up and down. And this has proven to be very good to clean the sieve, especially. It's a good question.
I think that's it from the questions. We don't have any more.
Yeah.
So unless, guys, you think that we forgot something from cold brew and you would like to add from your expertise, feel free.
And this is us again.
All good? It means that they agree with us. Cool. Yeah. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks for showing up. If you go to slido.com, there is the last thing that we would like you to fill in, and that's your feeling of this event. So let us know what you think. Give us your rating, and we also will share the recording of this session in case you want to have a look again how we did the drinks, and we'll share the ingredient list. So thanks for joining us, guys.
And if they want to get in contact with us?
Yes, that's also possible.
Is it possible? Or with Kolt?
Yes, that's true. Actually, we have to share that.
So that's the last screen of the day.
So guys, I'm following guys from Kolt on Instagram and Facebook. I added their name over here, how you can find them. They have really cool and creative ways, and I'm I know that it sounds weird to say that I'm really proud they're from my hometown. I'm usually not such a nationalist, but I'm really happy that they created this project, and it's not only about coffee, but it's actually about urban spaces, and it's about empowering people who would like to improve their hometowns and the place where they live. So I find it really cool. You can, for those who speak Slovak, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram. For those who don't, they still have very nice images, and they have still really nice things, they share every day in terms of drinks and things that they do. So that's it for today, right?
That's it for today. If you have any questions, get in touch with us and we will answer them. Thank you, guys. Have a lovely Sunday and enjoy next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.